Well, hello everyone and welcome to Veterans Corner. I'm your host, Marshall Preston, and I have the pleasure of introducing Jeff Farrell, our newly arrived Veteran Service Director for the Central Massachusetts Service District, which covers the 4 towns of Westboro, Shrewsbury, Grafton, and Northborough. Jeff, welcome to town. I understand that you're a bit of a native, growing up in Natick, I believe?
Yes, I grew up in Natick. Was active in sports and youth group, and know the area well just from traveling out here to different restaurants or sporting events. Went to Natick High, lived there until I enlisted in the Marines.
Awesome. And what drove you to the Marines, and how long was your enlistment?
My father is a Marine. That was a big influence. I had some other family friends join around the same time, and I did it later in life. I went to college, worked for 3 years as an athletic trainer, and realized it was something I always wanted to do, and I wasn't getting any younger. So the time to jump was now. I enlisted as an infantryman and anti-terrorism security.
What time frame was this?
So December of 2000,
Okay.
I enlisted, so just before 9/11. It was peacetime and then quickly became not.
Correct.
So I completed basic training, infantry school, and then went to a security guard school in Chesapeake, Virginia. Then was assigned to 1st Fleet Anti-Terrorism Security Team in Norfolk, Virginia. We knew we were deploying. Obviously, 9/11 happened, and we were not really pushed up, but going to the Mediterranean anyways, to Bahrain.
Okay.
So we were a reaction force for any of the fleet area. Looking back on it, it was a little bit of a stressful time, but we made it through okay. Didn't really have to go anywhere too crazy. Did some fun training in Kuwait. Got to work with the embassy team, and spent some time out in the desert, doing some patrolling and more infantry type training.
Okay. You still in touch with any of your?
A couple of friends.
Good.
I have two guys that I stay in touch with in North Carolina and Brooklyn, New York. So it's definitely a brotherhood where some of those, or even if I saw someone I haven't seen in 20 years, it would be right back to an instant connection.
Awesome. Yeah, my uncle served in the Marines, and still very proud of that experience, and rightfully so.
Yes.
Being a security platoon and background, did you ever consider a Marine security guard?
I was not per se. My time, keeping the Marine Corps height and weight standards was a challenge for me.
Okay.
I think I lost close to 100 pounds just to enlist. They were trying to get me to go to officer candidate school, but quickly realized those height and weight standards were pretty strict, and losing and keeping off that much weight was a challenge for me.
Okay.
So there were things I wanted to do, but then I realized, I wouldn't be accepted. But we were the embassy Marines backup.
Super.
So if an embassy ever came under attack, we were the ones going in to help them.
Okay.
That was part of the training in Kuwait, the Kuwait embassy. We showed them how to maintain their security, do a little bit of disaster planning.
Yeah. I had the pleasure of hosting the crisis response Marine Special Forces Marine Air Ground Task Force for Crisis Response Africa, whose focus was predominantly on providing additional support to Western and Northern African embassies. So interesting mission, and proud to have known a few of them. So after your enlistment, or what was the signal to close this chapter and move on to the next piece?
Well, I knew. I wouldn't say I quickly realized 20 years active duty was going to take a toll on me physically.
Yep.
Mentally, wanted to move back home. I moved back to Massachusetts, picked right up in my athletic training career. Worked at a few local high schools. I covered some Shriners practices and games right at Westboro High School over the summer. but also knew I wanted to stay involved in the military, so I was pursuing a career in the reserves.
Okay, that didn't pan out. I see by your resume it was.
Yeah, I tried becoming a Navy corpsman and trying to serve with the Marines, but the requirements for my background didn't quite meet up. In 05 or 06, the Marines were talking about pulling in some inactive reservists for the surge in Iraq, and the Army National Guard was able to buy out my time. So I enlisted as a medic in the National Guard in Concord, Mass.
That's fantastic.
And that was another paperwork shuffle. I eventually ended up going back in the infantry around 2000 and I would say 10. I think I ended up back in the infantry in the Army National Guard.
Okay, that took longer than I think I was expecting.
Yeah, so from 2006 to roughly 2008 or 9, I was in a medical company. I attended the first phase of officer candidate school, had some physical injuries that were limiting me, plus I had started nursing school at the time.
Okay.
So I ended up dropping out and was pursuing to go to physician assistant school through the Army.
Okay.
Found out with the infantry I was getting deployed to Afghanistan in 2011, so that kind of put a halt on the physician assistant school as well. Okay. And then I went overseas for 9 months to Afghanistan with the National Guard.
Where in Afghanistan?
Right in Kabul.
Okay.
So I was a reaction force for all of the bases around Kabul.
And that's with the Massachusetts Air National Guard?
The Army, the 182nd Infantry out of Melrose.
As I recall, they had a significant deployment and came back and sadly had some losses back at home. Which probably drives some of the desire to stay connected with veterans and advocate for access to.
The veteran suicide rate is still high. It's going down. I think the latest number was 17 suicides a day. My company, I at least had 2, but our battalion had 5 or 6 within a year of coming home.
That is tough to deal with.
Yep.
So, well, my heart goes out to you and to those men and their families, because as you know, it's more than just an individual service. You know, we do it on the backs and with a lot of family that supports us. So, so now you've been through the Marines, you've been through the Army, nibbled at the medical side of it for bits. Still dabbling within the educational realm, correct?
Yes, so I had worked, the last school I worked at was Fay School, right in Southborough.
Okay.
I was a dorm parent, an athletic trainer, equipment manager. I would run the ropes course over the summer.
Fun.
So even though it's athletics, it's always a little bit of teaching involved. I was never an official classroom teacher, but there's plenty of opportunities to teach just in daily life.
Yes.
And that was, after looking at, I'm not going to be on a sideline at games for the rest of my life, being rained on. What do I want my life goal to be? And that draw back to the veteran and military community,
awesome.
I think, is where I can help a lot of veterans.
So I alluded to it at the opening, but could you talk to us about the Central Massachusetts Service District?
So the district is 4 towns: Shrewsbury, Grafton, Northborough, and Westborough. My main goal is just to be a place where veterans can come, get advice or help apply for benefits, whether it's the VA or there are some Massachusetts state benefits. Massachusetts is unique that there's a veteran service officer in every town in the state. I'm a town employee. I'm not a VA employee or a federal employee. We are managed through the towns. And just, whether it's come in and say hi, talk to a fellow veteran. I know a lot of veterans with PTSD or different issues only feel comfortable talking to another veteran, someone that's served and can understand what they went through.
Correct.
But we are, I spend a day in each town. I have office hours in each town, and we're just there to help get people in the right direction.
Love it. And from my experience on the Westboro Veterans Advisory Board, I'm aware that we've got approximately 500 veterans within the local town. So
Yes.
if that's true across the other 3 towns, roughly a community of 2,000, 2,500 veterans. And then, of course, the spouses and the families and the dependents, and then to the greater community and friends and residents to help us advocate for and
Yes.
not forget the promise that our country has made for that service.
Yeah, and I know, the benefits are earned. Well, people shouldn't be ashamed to come and seek benefits or apply for benefits. They've been earned. They're there for you.
Correct. And with any good government process, there's paperwork associated,
Oh, lots
and
of
that's
paperwork.
generally the big hurdle. So don't do it alone.
Yep.
There are people and resources out there to support. And I think I'd also echo that have a professional like Jeff take a look at it from a analysis before you self-eliminate yourself.
Yes. Yeah, there's, even just in the past month, I've probably helped fill out a dozen claims. And it's not just myself. We have the whole Executive Office of Veteran Services behind us in Boston that we sign over authority to them, and they help file it as well. So you don't have to go it alone.
Super. How have you been enjoying each of the different towns and communities around here, and can you see different flavors and cultures?
Yes, absolutely. I enjoy the towns. This is, the area, Western or Metro West is where I grew up, where I called home.
Yep.
I can associate with Natick has gotten very large, but it was a small town when I grew up there. Every town around here is getting bigger, but still has a small town community feel. I know there's a lot of people who care for each other out here, and will go the extra mile to help out.
Yeah.
But each town has its own identity, and it's my job to get to know a little bit of all of it.
Now, as part of the Westboro Veterans Advisory Board, I know that we've got spring is on the cusp, and with that, Memorial Day planning is in full swing, and the town does such a wonderful job coming out to support and actively participate in it, from the Scouts and the high school band and everything else associated with it, the flags on the Rotary. So,
Yes.
You've got a good, strong town here in Westboro, and a good, strong community that supports these initiatives.
I agree. I know. I always, on the way home from Southborough to Worcester, I would drive through the Rotary and always be impressed on how well it was presented.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, thank you for your time with us
Thank you.
today. To the residents of Westboro, thank you for allowing us to share a little bit of the Veterans Corner, the Veterans Story, and a reminder to all of those out there that have served. Thank you for doing it. Thank you for continuing to contribute to the community, civic engagement. And if you ever got any questions, Jeff and the Westboro Veterans Advisory Board are here to serve. Thank you for your time. Enjoy your day.